was born in the state of Washington. My wife and I went to high school together at Sammamish High School here in Bellevue. I then went on to go to the University of Washington. I was a finance major. I then went to law school in Lewis and Clark in Portland. I got an advanced law degree in tax law at New York University. Then we came back here to Seattle, and I started practicing law doing tax law. One day one of the partners came in and said, there's this kid down in the conference room who's got this crazy idea. So I went down, and this guy with a crazy idea was Craig McCaw. But his crazy idea wasn't crazy. It was a very good idea on how to purchase, at that time, a cable television system. So we started down the road of buying, working for him, to buying cable television companies. During this time, we were also paying attention to something new and coming along called cellular telephone. And we took those numbers and we plugged them into our very sophisticated cable television acquisition model that we had to buy cable television systems. And wow, I mean, the numbers were extraordinary. I mean, they were blowing away anything we were doing in cable. Starting with the very first day that cellular applications were allowed to be filed in June of 1982, we at McCaw were fully committed to the cellular telephone industry. We were all across the country. We were the largest cellular company in the United States at the time. We were very involved in the formation of CTIA and the operation of CTIA. I think there's several times when I could say that I look back on my career and I said I had a meaningful influence. One was when we amended the Telecom Act of 1996. What we did in 1996 is we went to Congress and we said, we need you to preempt the states from affecting zoning or cell site placement under the guise of RF, health issues on RF. What I realized was that they would not regulate RF, but what they would do is say that we're going to deny the city this cell site location, not because of the radio frequency, but because people are afraid of the radio frequency, and therefore that will affect property values. I inserted into the committee report the phrase directly or indirectly. I was so glad that it worked. As we looked ahead to the PCS auctions and the back end of Lynn, which we were required to buy, there was a time when it made sense to decide whether or not to sell McCaw. It took 3 years of my life to get those things done, but we got the deal with AT&T. I think one of the things we should be proud of as an industry is how we did work together. Especially was hard for the wireline and the non-wireline guys to get together, but we ended up working together just fine, and obviously they became great friends. I stayed with AT&T for 3 years after the merger. Then I left. They treated me very well, wonderful company, but it was a big company, and I was used to being a little more independent. Couldn't stay away from wireless, had to get back in, and we bought licenses and built systems in primarily rural parts of the United States. We grew that business to about 300 employees, over 100,000 subscribers, and ultimately sold it to AT&T. It was a great era of where the industry transitioned from a mobile-based business to a portable-based business. It's hard to believe. People kind of forget that we actually used to drill holes in your car when you had a cellular telephone. But it was a time when that was very important, and we were very instrumental at McCaw in driving that. We had 4 sons, have 4 sons. My wife came home from church one day and said, they needed a cub master and I volunteered you. And all 4 of our sons became Eagle. I kind of thought I was done. Then they said, gee, we'd like you to be at the district level, and then we'd like you to be at the council level, and I was a council president. Pretty soon I'm too dumb to say no, and so I'm currently serving a 2-year term as the president of the Boy Scouts of America. I love baseball. I always played baseball as a kid. I became one of the owners of the Seattle Mariners, and this was in 1992, and we've owned the team since then with a group of people, and it's been a wonderful experience. I started flying probably 30 years ago now. I've flown jets. I currently have a Falcon 2000 LX. I'm type rated in 4 types of jets. There's all sorts of training that's required to take place, but if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I teach a class at the University of Washington, and I always poll my students, how many of you have only a cellular phone and don't have a home phone? Every year, the percentage has gone up. where the number of students have no home phone, just have a wireless. They've also gotten to the point where they don't have wrist watches or alarm clocks because they use their phone for that too.